Welcome to episode 34 of the Harsch Review. We are a film and TV podcast hosted by two brothers. My name is Sean, and with me is my brother Ryan.
Hey there, Sean.
Hey, Ryan, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right.
Yeah?
I think I have a little bit of the Wook flu.
Wook flu, what is that?
Well, we kind of follow around this band called Fish, and there are a lot of hippies on this tour, and what happens is they don't really take good care of themselves, so thus the environment is a little bit more unhygienic, I suppose.
Yeah. Just to give you guys a little bit of backstory, Ryan has been listening to Fish since the early mid-90s. I'm about a mid-90s myself. We've gone and seen the band many times together. Ryan recently flew up here to Seattle, and we went and saw 3 nights at the Gorge, did some camping, and Ryan went home, and you went to, what, 2 shows in L.A.?
Yeah, 2 shows at the Forum in L.A. Okay,
so I watched those on the live stream.
Nice.
And then I watched one of the freebies they did in San Francisco. I got to say, I haven't really done any like couch surfing, I guess, or couch touring or whatever what's it called? Yeah,
couch tour.
Couch tour. There you go.
Well, basically the band for just about all their shows, they do a live web stream. You pay like $20, and you can get it at HD real time at home. So
yeah, it's really cool. I mean, I've seen them in movie theaters before when they did some live streams. I think I saw maybe a couple times. I think they did like maybe some of their Brooklyn concerts they did at one point. The big shit show they had in was it Vermont or Maine or I don't know.
One of those
15 years ago,
places, yeah.
So it's kind of interesting going and seeing musical acts in the movie theater. I know that Muse has been advertising some big concert, live streamed concert. I know you two have done it, but I haven't really done it too much just from home. So I'm watching shows that you're at in person, and I have to say I'm pretty impressed with just the whole ecosystem they've got going on in just regards to media streaming and stuff. So all I really do is I go to their little app, and if you own a show, you can stream at any point in time. So now, because I paid to watch the LA shows, the HD concert video is available for me to watch at any point in time.
Yeah.
But if you have a ticket, then they will allow you to listen to the concert at any point in time. It's added to your stash.
Well, with the ticket, it's the stream. It used to be an audio download only. Now it's a video download only with the ticket.
Yeah, so it's kind of like kind of like iTunes, basically the way that they have it. But if you pay $10 a month, then you get access to everything, and you can just stream everything on there. But you don't get access to the videos that they have.
Oh yeah.
But no, it was a lot of fun. It's definitely kind of cool watching that environment, just not hanging out with a bunch of sweaty Wooks, because we don't really fit the profile for your stereotypical Fish fan.
No.
But I mean, I think that there's a huge population of fans of the band that are just non-Wooks, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of I see all kinds of people there. There's little kids up to people in their 60s or 70s, perhaps, hippies and non-hippies, and Wooks and non-Wooks alike. So it's pretty diverse, very surprising, and it still feels like underground because not everybody knows about it. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's the funniest part is watching like the expressions on the faces of the staff or the police after the show, and just trying to piece together what's going on here. It's definitely kind of funny in that respect.
Yeah, have you seen any band play in a movie theater?
I've seen like the Grateful Dead. They do something every year where they do a show in August around Jerry Garcia's birthday, and they show an old Dead show, and that's kind of interesting. Because then there's some people there that start partaking in certain substances, and then you get the smells, and that's interesting to see that in a movie theater.
Yeah,
or to smell that in a movie theater, rather. You don't get that all the time.
I was living in San Francisco at the time, and me and my friend Brian went to the Coventry webcast that they had. They had 3 shows of their Coventry concert, which was like their farewell concert for like the second time, whatever.
Right.
And you show up, and it was a weird environment because there's all these, you get the mixture of people, but there's definitely a lot of hippies that showed up, and you buy your popcorn and your soda, and it's like, number, I don't know, what was a big movie 10 years ago, X-Men or something, and then in the theater next to it's like, oh, Fish. And so you sit down with your popcorn and soda, and next thing you know, there's guys lighting up joints and just getting out of, and you're like, okay.
Dancing and standing up and dancing or dancing in the aisle.
I know
it's funny to see that too.
It was pretty weird. It was fun, but it's nice just kind of watching it from my couch and not having to worry about stuff. So I didn't get to watch a whole lot of movies this week because I watched 3 concerts after I went to 3 concerts. That's a lot. Tours take it out on you.
Yeah, I'm feeling it now a little bit.
Yeah, you're not done either, right? You're going to Colorado?
I'm going to Colorado in about a month for Labor Day weekend. They've been doing it for almost 10 years now.
Okay.
Three-night run out in Colorado. So
nice.
That's one of the first states. I mean, they're a band from Vermont back east, and Colorado's one of the first states where they kind of broke on the west.
Yeah.
So kind of special event for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Yeah. So that's taking up most of my screen time. But before we get into any kind of movies, whatever else we've been watching, I've got a ton of news to go over. I don't know about you. There's been a lot going on since we last had our Jaws episode, the last episode. So is there anything on your radar you want to dive into?
Well, I got like 3 things, and I saw you have like 3 times as many. So
yeah, let's do it.
We'll get to what I have, and then we'll get into what you have.
All right,
and I'll save the best for first because I know this is a show near and dear to your heart. Stranger Things.
Oh yes.
Yeah, the sigh.
Nothing but child drama. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we've had 2 seasons of this show already, and we're supposed to get a season 3. But unfortunately for fans, it's been delayed. There was like a little fake ad for a mall or something, and a lot of people are getting hyped up. It might be coming out, but unfortunately, it won't be coming out until sometime next year. So that won't be released until summer of 2019. It looks like. Yeah,
they better get these things recorded before all the kids hit puberty.
Right. Yeah.
Because then it's just going to get weird.
That's the problem.
It'll be like what was that home improvement show? Tim Allen.
Yeah.
You got the cute kids, and then like a season and a half later, you watch it again, and they've all hit puberty, and it's just awkward. It's like you're not really cute weird and funny anymore.
Yeah, it's and then it's awkward even more so when you try to replace that actor with someone else.
Yeah.
I can't think of any show offhand that's done that, but it seems like that might be what you have to do. But yeah, you're right. With this show, these kids they're getting roles in other shows and other movies. So it's kind of blowing up. It's a big deal to a lot of people. I'm pretty much ambivalent about it. It's nostalgic and that's nice and everything, but if that's all there is, it's not really for me too exciting.
So wait, what was the reason again? Why are they delaying it?
No, like real big reason. It's just more like information with production, and they have to hash out the storylines a little bit more. So
gotcha.
They didn't really give a specific reason why, but I mean, we're kind of at the whim of the producers. There's a little quote here. It basically just says that the Duffer brothers, who are the creators of the show, understand the stakes are high. They want to deliver something bigger and better than last year. So therefore, we have to wait a little bit longer for them to hash that out, maybe get some more money thrown into it. So, again, we don't know how long this show's going to keep going because, again, these kids won't be the same age forever.
Well, season 1 started off, I think, pretty strong, and it was definitely intriguing, and I was very into it for 4 or 5 episodes. Then it just started to kind of wear on you, and you just stopped kind of caring. Yeah. Once you kind of figured out all the kids and all this, like I don't really care at all. I'm not connecting with these kids. There's just not a whole lot of substance there for me. I know they really bank heavy on the nostalgia, but the characters in the writing, they're all well done. It's well made. Yeah. It just doesn't connect with me. And then season 2, they were definitely reaching a bit. And I just kind of felt like they were running out of ideas, so I think that if this is really going to be a typical 5-season run, kind of like a Breaking Bad type of series that they're going to have to branch out of this underworld type of theme that they have, where there's like the good, the bad, and the blah blah blah. It's just, I'm kind of curious, like how many more layers can they really put on this cake before it just gets too out of control?
Yeah, it just gets a little old after a while.
And I'm sure the diehard fans will probably have to acknowledge it at some point that it's kind of lost whatever magic it had from season one. So well, 2019, it's a ways away, but again, I mean, it could be early 2019, and we're talking 6 months, so who knows?
Yeah, I mean, we'll get Game of Thrones at that time, and then maybe Westworld, other shows that are really popular on other networks. So it'll just be all coming around the same time. So
gotcha. All right,
just gotta wait.
Sorry, fans, must wait till 2019.
Sorry. We have the Russo brothers, right?
Not the Duffer brothers.
Yeah, different set of brothers. So you know what they're famous for, right?
Russo brothers. I'm sure I do.
They are responsible for Avengers.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, most recently Avengers Infinity War. So they have helmed a lot of other films. Captain America Winter Soldier was the first one. And then they gave them the chance to tackle Infinity War. And that's one of the biggest, most ambitious films to date. But now they're going to be scripted by Amazon to do a series. And it looks like a non-Marvel series. I'm just going to kind of read to you the premise, because that's all we're kind of getting here. There's really not much else that they're giving us. It says, the Origin Mothership series will function as a fire starter to ignite the creation of multiple original local language and local production series. All of the local series are meant to enhance the entire entertainment experience and will be available for the viewer to deep dive into an imagined layered world. Does that make any sense to you at all?
Absolutely. It's clear as mud.
Yeah.
It so sounds like a bunch of PR crap.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no concrete details. There's no setting. There's no time period.
Sure.
It's a very, it sounds like a lot of legalese to me.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
The studios have said, the Russo brothers have impacted pop culture with Avengers and so. We're thrilled to be working with them, but we don't know anything else besides that. We just know that they're going to be doing, like a lot of other directors and writers and so forth, they're going to be doing a series on one of the popular networks. So in this case, it's Amazon.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, it's got some potential. Amazon's so hit and miss with me still. But I'm sure that anything that they're involved in is going to have some good following and stuff to it.
Sure.
Popular guys, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, they'll get their little niche, whatever it is, and they've been throwing a lot of money at stuff. So we'll have to wait and find out what it is beyond that little obscure description I gave you.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Sorry about that, but
yeah, not your words.
Yeah, right. And the last piece of news I have involves Lord of the Rings. Sorry about that delay.
I like the tension.
Yeah, right. Lord of the Rings, we've talked about this in the past. They're going to be getting a Netflix show. Or, no. Sorry, the Wook flu is speaking again. It would be, let me start over. Lord of the Rings will be getting an Amazon show.
There we go.
Okay, I'm back. All right, so we talked about like a spin-off show involving the whole Lord of the Rings premise. So it's going to be set, of course, in Middle-earth, based on the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. Moving forward kind of slowly, but we have news now that there's going to be two writers by the names of J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, who will be writing and developing the series. These guys are relative newcomers. They've worked on the scripts for Star Trek Beyond. They're part of the writer's room for Godzilla vs. Kong, and they're also working on the sequel for Star Trek Beyond. They're going to be doing a lot of the writing on this Lord of the Rings show, so for those of you who are fans eagerly awaiting, it might take a little bit longer because the ball is rolling fairly slowly. Peter Jackson is not involved in this, although they are kind of consulting with him, having conversations about possibly filming the series on his original sets in New Zealand, which were pretty much all on location. But then you have his studios that they might be making use of too. Now not a straight up adaptation of Lord of the Rings. It's going to explore new storylines preceding the Fellowship of the Ring. So it's going to be kind of set in that space between The Hobbit and the Fellowship of the Ring. And we're getting a reported payment of around $250 million for the rights, and the production costs are going to be estimated to reach $500 million.
Yeah, this is going to be either totally awesome or just a total bomb.
It could be a dud.
Yeah, I'm hopeful for it because I think it's there's a lot of stories to tell in that universe. They've got a good thing going for them.
Yeah,
a lot more wizardy, I guess. Not as much. And everyone's going to compare it to Game of Thrones, obviously.
Yeah.
And Game of Thrones has a lot of their universe can go any direction. It's a little bit too all over the place in some respects. But I think that since everybody kind of knows what is and isn't possible in Lord of the Rings, they could really do some cool stuff with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they just have like an episode like with Strider and his domestic issues or something,
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah, something. Gandalf has a bit of a drug problem.
Yeah, too much pipe weed.
Yeah, hey, slow down there, buddy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it, but again, it's not going to be coming out for a while, so we're just getting a lot of talk for right now.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We got a year or two at least.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah.
And that's all for news on my end, Sean.
Boom. All right. So I've got a little handful of things here. A couple things from the Star Wars universe. Got it, guys. Everyone's just way into Star Wars right now. A little tired, but they finally announced the cast. Obviously, we mentioned a couple weeks ago about Billy D joining the cast, but officially we've got Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Lupita Nyong'o, Domhnall Gleeson, Kelly Marie Tran, everybody the same. And then they're also adding Naomi Ackie, Richard Grant, and Kerry Russell, and here's what's interesting, is they're joined by the veteran actors Mark Hamill, Anthony Daniels, and Billy D. Williams. So it's interesting that Mark Hamill is still connected to it, where it seemed like they wrote him off. So he's either going to be Force Ghost, or there's more layers to his moment of Zen when he became one with the universe. I don't know.
He'll be that little ghost figure in the background.
He could be. I mean, it would make sense, but they're going to have to push it to another level to show you, what those ghost figures do. Because
nothing.
Well, I mean, they only really showed up to kind of like give their little nod of approval after like success, like in the original trilogy.
It's funny that they just showed up. They just sat there. They didn't really do anything.
No, they're just hanging out. Like, do we all organize this to be here at the same time? What time do we need to be at the Ewok place? That's at 8.
Yeah, remember us?
Yeah, so I'm really curious to see how that's going to work out. There might be, Abrams might take the redemption route and give Luke Skywalker a little bit more of a presence or a role than we were planning, but one way or the other, he's still going to be involved. And that was on, that was released obviously on StarWars.com, but there's been more discussion about how they're going to sunset Leia's character, or Leia, and they've got a lot of unused footage from the first 2 movies that they might be able to work in somehow to tell some type of story. So I think most people were speculating that's just going to be a big time jump, and then you get something in the opening scroll that says she's dead. But I think they're actually going to work in scenes to establish that early on.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't really know how. They're obviously going to have to write around what they've got, but I'm sure they can pull something off.
Yeah.
So that's what
in this case, it's a good thing they shot extra footage then.
Yeah, or didn't use it.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot more rumors that have kind of come around. I've read a bunch of stuff on different sites like Empire and Movie Web. And so there's a lot of discussion in regards to like what's going to happen, but they're going back to the Cardigan airship sheds in Bedfordshire, England. That's where they're going to be starting the shooting. And this was basically the location that was first seen during like A New Hope near the end. It kind of served as the Rebel home base. So that's those airship sheds were also used to construct what were they called, the Masasi outpost, or base 1 on the planet Yavin 4. And
too many obscure
I know,
words. Sean.
I'm losing you guys. So they're definitely shooting a bunch of stuff there, and I guess this chapter is supposed to be bringing together Ray, Finn, and Poe for more Adventure Time, where they were really separated for the most part of the last movie.
They said Adventure Time, like they use those words.
Yeah, so they're gonna have some Adventure Time.
Adventure Time, hey.
With your favorite heroes, Ray, Finn, and Poe. Don't know. We're gonna assume that they've been hiding out. The First Order finds them and blasts some things up. So they're doing this huge, crazy, I guess, like they've been setting up this big, crazy pyrotechnics scene that shows like a long running scene that is going to take them about 5 days to shoot. So it's going to be, I'm thinking kind of like a Private Ryan type of moment.
Yeah.
Not quite sure, but there's been a lot of drones that kind of hover over and spy and these people.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. People, I mean, they're talking about it, I think, in the behind the scenes for The Last Jedi about how they had specific guns to shoot down drones. It was like a thing that they had to do. But now that they're shooting out here at these London studios, drones is a hard thing they have to fight.
Yeah.
But this also got a nice little twist. But George Lucas was brought in to consult on the script. And so, yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Not a nice little twist.
You know, he's kind of he's been pretty mute in regards to everything, obviously. But he's being a little bit more and more involved, I guess, because they really need to make sure they get this right, especially because the last Jedi was so polarizing for so many people.
All right, I'm confused, but
yeah,
it's just weird how they think like his stuff is the right stuff that'll get people interested again. I mean, he created the characters and a lot of the old storylines, but his approach is it's not appealing to me. It really turned off a lot of other people too. So
it did, and what I would probably say is that what he is good at is he's kind of good at being the Star Wars universe police.
Okay.
So if there's any theme that's consistent through those is that he's had that level of creative control through the first 6 movies, and he didn't have that. And JJ played it really safe, where you get somebody like Rian Johnson who takes it and starts taking a lot more liberties with it than Lucas may have not done.
Yeah.
And so I think that they're a little bit gun shy on having something go too radical, going, okay, how can we correct this, but kind of still keep those things there. So I think a consultant is a good role for him. I do like that he is still involved, but it's nice that he's an advisor. So he can't make those decisions because clearly his instincts didn't pay off well.
Your argument has sold me, Sean.
Bam. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's close out that one. And then finally, I read a story on the Muse that Simon Pegg tells angry Star Wars fans it's just a fucking film.
Nice.
So people were complaining. Yeah, he was kind of responding about how, like we were talking about, I don't know how many episodes ago, people were harassing the stars. And people were, the guy who played Jar Jar Binks almost committed suicide because of how bad, fans were freaking out about it. Oh yeah, it was just not, so there's been lots of racist and sexist comments thrown at some of these actors that were cast in roles that people didn't like Kelly Tran. But he told a recent, he had an interview with Now This, and he says, quote, "I feel sorry for Kelly Marie Tran because she was just in the film, a fucking film. That's all it is. None of it matters. None of it." And Pegg also went on to admit that he was, quote, one of those people that's one of those super fans that, freak out on all the details and things like that, where he reflected on his criticism of Jar Jar Binks. And then he kind of went on to say that, quote, "I feel so ashamed that there was actually a human victim in that."
Yeah.
So in the end, he kind of just, said that, quote, "There's no diplomacy in that. There's no empathy." And so he's just kind of going on ranting a little bit about it. But it's kind of funny to see these people who have a pretty good pedigree for nerddom telling people just to calm down.
Just the STFU.
Yeah, I know.
I had a conversation the other night with someone about fish again, and just how much, and it reminded me of this because the fans love this thing so much, and yet there are portions of them who are super critical, and nothing can please them, and they're always going to be haters, and it's not like they're trolling or whatever for reactions. It's just like nothing can make them happy.
Yeah. I think what happens is when people experience a new medium, whether it be film, TV, music, there's this discovery and window where you're very open to everything. And when you approach that discovery window, eventually you close it. And then you have like this little thing in a little box that you go, okay, this is what I identify as the stuff I like. And then when time passes and new things enter the same IP, it messes with your vision of like, this is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I think that an example is if somebody were to come to Star Wars totally fresh today, they're not going to have all that baggage. They're going to take it for what it is, which I think is actually a position that probably makes a lot of classic Star Wars fans unhappy because people can find joy in things they don't like.
Yeah, always.
Same with a band like Fish, where they have different, Fish 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, like significant different shifts in their career. And depending on when you came in, when they go into their second, their 2.0 phase, it might not fit the vision of why you originally liked the band. And if you can't see past that, then you just become some grumpy prick. And I think that's how most of these franchises are kind of going. It's getting to be a problem. Where people didn't used to be this fanatical about certain things. I'm going to go on a limb and even say that those who truly have issues with it probably don't have a whole lot going on.
And there's probably some mental imbalance there.
Well, it's not saying that they're unstable people, but I think that they are placing too much weight and power on something that they don't create. It's just a story. And they're connecting their identity with it and their values. It's like when you're driving a car, everybody thinks they're the best driver and everybody else is a jerk, know? But you ever thought, it's like I saw some Matrix meme of Morpheus and it said, what if I told you that you are traffic, cause people complain about being in traffic all the time, but it's like, well, that's you are also the problem.
Yeah.
And I think that analogy kind of carries over to a lot of the movies as well.
Makes sense.
So we'll see. I actually enjoy reading it because I just don't really care. I've never really been that crazy. The closest I could have gotten was with Indiana Jones, and I still saw Crystal Skulls like, well, it was fun, but I mean, it wasn't what it could have been. But
you didn't go online and like blast people for.
No, it's a movie.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be entertainment, and it's designed to take my money.
At a certain point, you have to trust the artist that they kind of know what they're doing, that the vision is in their hands, not yours, and that whatever comes out will be a product of that kind of collaboration.
Correct.
And it's not always going to work. It's not
always going to work. People are going to try and take creative liberties, just like musicians do. Like they have to innovate. I think the best example of that is a band like U2. That their 80s sound, when they came out with their album Octoon Baby, they intentionally wanted to destroy everything that they were. They invented personas for themselves and did this new album, and it totally reinvented themselves and took them to a whole nother level, but it definitely alienated their core base because it was so radical. But they said, like, we don't enjoy that anymore. So if you want us to still be a band, like, this is how we keep ourselves interested. Right. Radiohead did the same thing, and they said if it wasn't for U2, they wouldn't have had the courage to do that, going from OK Computer to Kid A.
You need those trendsetters.
Yeah, and I think that this is the same thing with something like Star Wars. Is no one wants to just keep rehashing the past. Like, you got to make it exciting for yourself. And if you don't, then it wouldn't be its thing. But in the end, I'm not ignorant to the fact that the only reason I'm watching this is because somebody wants to make money.
Yeah,
that's it.
End of the day, that's what it is.
That's all it is. Is someone's just they're making money. They're putting out a product, and I'm buying that product. The original Star Wars was not that, and it shows. And that's why all its quirks and imperfections, that's why they're there, because it was just more of a passion project. I think that those types of things are damn near extinct today, where you just see movies because people love making movies compared to we're making them because we're making money. Disney's here to make money. And I think that's the downside of Star Wars being under Disney. But anyways, good discussions on that.
Yes.
So moving on, this is a little bit more of a Disney connection here. Andy Serkis's Mowgli, his version of the Jungle Book, is going to Netflix in 2019. It was supposed to be a theatrical release, and things have changed. And
I saw a preview for it.
Yeah, now it's just going straight to Netflix. Not getting a traditional theatrical run, which is kind of a bummer for a lot of people. Because the movie's been in the can for a while, and it is a little bit unfortunate because it competed with Favreau's Jungle Book that was a smashing success for Disney, the one that he kind of came out with. But this is more of a darker adaptation that's a lot closer to the original story. It was supposed to come out in theaters this October. It's no longer. It's now going into just direct to Netflix, and so. On Empire, Serkis had an interview, and I think he's seen the positives of it, where he said, "quote that there's still going to be something on the cards for a 3D version of the film, but I'm really excited about Netflix for Mowgli. Now we avoid comparisons to the other movie, and it's a relief to not have that pressure. I've seen the 3D version, and it's exceptional. A different view from the TV version, really lush with great depth." And there'll be some kind of theatrical component for that. It was always meant to be PG-13, and this allows us to go deeper with darker themes, to be scary and frightening in moments. This way of going allows us to get the film out without compromise. So the positive is they get to put out the movie they want to make. And that may have been something that led to this as opposed to their hand being forced. Not quite sure. I can only speculate. But I do like the trend of movies that were made to go into the theaters maybe kind of get crunched by the companies that want to see something different in the box office. And then now you can just release it on Netflix.
Interesting if like Annihilation or a movie like that kind of confounded a lot of people. What would happen if that went to Netflix?
Yeah.
There's a market for everything.
Which it did. But only in Europe, not in the States.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and that was a bad move because it would have played better in the theater for a lot of those folks. So the shame is they did a 3D production on this with, I guess, really good 3D. It was shot with that intention, and that's going to have a limited release, I guess, sometime this year. Yeah.
So good and bad, I guess.
Yeah, there's some pros and cons to that. So shifting gears a bit, Nat Geo. Right? That's the hit version of National Geographic.
Oh, yeah.
They hired Jeff Goldblum to walk around and be professionally fascinated by things, according to avclub.com.
Isn't that like his life anyway?
Yeah, but that's kind of his shtick. He's done that for some of the commercials he's done. Don't really know what it is, but the working title is The Curiosity of Jeff Goldblum. So it's greenlit by Nat Geo. And basically, it's just a permanent state of him going, yes, fascinating.
Yes.
Right? So I guess he's just going to be investigating the joys of common day phenomena like baseball and making toilet paper. I don't know. So, yeah, it kind of falls into the getting paid to
get his hands dirty.
Yeah.
Seems like a very, clean man,
It's going to be probably like a nerdy version of what Mike Rowe does for dirty jobs, something like that.
That's what I'm thinking.
So it's an interesting choice, but he's cashing in on his persona because he definitely is pretty weird. But good for him.
Pay the bills. Quite a long way since being Brundlefly.
Yeah, right.
And the Fly.
Yeah, that's a long way. I remember just snapping that dude's femur when he was arm wrestling in the bar. You're like, yes, the Fly's got some guns.
I saw that again not too long ago. It's just very disturbing movie.
Yeah, I know.
Very disgusting.
They need to remake that one. Yeah. That'd be a fun remake.
Sure.
All right. So this one is the one I'm most excited about. According to Vulture.com, the Deadwood movie is really going to start shooting this fall.
Yeah.
Right? How long has this been coming out?
It's like 10 years.
All right, so I have a challenge for you. You have
Okay.
when you think of the Deadwood, just the 3 seasons that run HBO, if you had to sum it all up in just one word, what would that be?
Probably the F word.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's used so much.
I always go cocksucker.
Yeah,
that's the one I hear all the time because that's
really,
that word's in it all the time.
Really just dirty. I mean, that would be the word, dirty. It's just because
there you go. That's better.
Any other kind of Western, it really encapsulated that dirtiness of the Old West that a lot of other Westerns don't. Just how filthy everything was, how the hygiene was just out the window, much like a Fish concert parking lot.
Yeah, they all had the Wook flu.
Yeah, so we come back around to the beginning. But big fan of the show. I read a little something not too long ago, being an English major, fascinated me that a lot of the dialogue is written in what's called iambic pentameter, which is a certain way of stressing syllables to where it's almost written like Shakespeare, which nobody does anymore. So the fact that there's a lot of detail placed on aspects like that are really cool. But yeah, tell me more. I'd love to know more about where they're going with the movie.
Yeah, well, there's not a whole lot of details in the plot right now. We're looking at a spring 2019 release because this isn't something that really relies on CGI or anything. So it's just classic filmmaking. But right now, according to an HBO chief, the movie has a terrific script. So that's very promising. There are still a few hurdles, a few things to get over. So cross your fingers that nothing derails this project, but everything is set to go for the Deadwood movie, finally.
I'm very excited. That's good news.
Yes. And I'm going to close out with 2 stories, and this is the hiring and firing of some Hollywood folks. So the hiring is AMC reinstated Chris Hardwick as the Talking Dead host. So we talked about him. He probably was going to be toast by it. A lot of speculation went back. A lot of people asked for his head. But again, it seemed to be a case of he said, she said, in regards to just his relationship and potential abuse and all that kind of stuff. I know I was definitely kind of saying, like, I don't see how he's going to recover. Yeah. But AMC is actually backing their boy, and they're bringing him back on for his show and Talking Dead. And they've said that they, according to a comicbook.com, quote, following a comprehensive assessment by AMC, working with Ivy Kagan Bierman of the firm Loeb and Loeb, who has considerable experience in this area. Chris Hardwick will return to AMC as the host of The Talking Dead and Talking with Chris Hardwick. We take these matters very seriously, and given the information available to us, and after a very careful review, including interviews and numerous individuals, we believe returning Chris to work is the appropriate step. So don't know how everyone's going to be feeling about this. There's a lot of people that were kind of saying, like, what, that's it? It's over?
Yeah.
But
I mean, he wasn't really explicitly named in the statement.
He wasn't, but then it was kind of confirmed afterwards by a bunch of people. And he confirmed it by responding to it, but he's not been charged with anything.
Right.
And it was just more of a profile of, like, this guy was shitty to me. And he was mentally and verbally and physically abusive in his ways.
Sure.
And he said no. People on both sides of the fence went to support him. Some people said, yeah, I can see that. I can only speculate. I don't know. It is just, I think that it is a little cool in the sense that you can't just call someone out and then ruin their whole career.
Yeah.
If you're going to go at that level, then you probably should get the law involved. I definitely would encourage anybody to do that if you're in that situation, but just to kind of go and tarnish someone's career and kind of go like, that's all. I just wanted to let you guys know.
Yeah.
I don't think that's enough to destroy someone's career, but that's kind of how Hollywood's been. And
she's kind of putting her focus into efforts like, domestic verbal abuse and things like that. So that's kind of a positive also. That we can learn something from this is that, anybody from the celebrity to like the common husband housewife situation, this stuff can happen to anybody. It's just we have to really focus our attention on it, seek help where and when it's needed as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Like if that ever, if that would ever happen to anyone else, I'm sure he's grateful for this chance to come back, because not everybody, from Weinstein to Kevin Spacey to Louis C.K. to Roseanne Barr, the list goes on, have had this chance to kind of have their whole thing reinstated without nothing much else said.
Sure.
So it's kind of a 1 in a million shot for him. So you better not blow it with something else.
Yeah, that's true. But
Yeah.
I think that it's, as much as I'm a fan for people getting called out for being assholes, male or female, I'm also, I don't want to create a culture of fear to where just any words in the media, because people are going to report it regardless if it's true or not. And I mean, nobody, she did this on Twitter, so it was, then news people pick it up, but that would suck. You just say something and that's it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good step in that direction to kind of go, well, let's take it. It should be handled in the courts, not in the public.
And the court of public opinion is not the final word here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
So in other tragic news, James Gunn, director of the Guardians of the Galaxies, Disney fired him.
What?
So there's a huge thing on Hollywood Reporter that I read. It's a bit of a, mixed feelings on that, but basically a bunch of offensive tweets that he had from years ago kind of came up, and Disney just axed him.
Twitter just destroys people.
Well, I think it's,
I'm not saying it's just Twitter, but it's these people can't stay off Twitter.
They're being reckless with it, or I think what people are forgetting is that they're employees, and any company has a right to decide who is not employed by them. So I respect that an organization might think somebody's a wild card or too risky. If somebody shows their true colors online, then they're essentially an extension of your brand. They're representing you. And with something with millions and millions and millions of dollars at stake, it's different as opposed to somebody who works at a gas station that's tweeting something racist. It is. So it's just the stakes are way higher. You got to be way careful. So I think people are just going to start hiding some of these things, where there's an era in Twitter where, this was 10 years ago, and he had jokes about rape and pedophilia that he was making 10 years ago. And somehow they got unearthed, like by somebody just going through his I don't know how, Twitter feed or something. I mean, he's 51 and he was in his 40s when he sent them, so he really wasn't a kid. But we also can kind of see that other people do that. So there's been a lot of people coming out defending him, saying, even if he was making inappropriate jokes, that's not who he is today, or he hasn't shown those values today. Bobcat Goldthwait was one of the loudest defenders, because he did a voice for one of the villains in a Disney, I think in Hercules, or I don't know, one of the Disney flicks in the 90s.
Police Academy?
Yeah, no, but they show his voice at Color of Water or whatever at the Disneyland. They do the huge, water, and they project on the water, and it's all colorful and stuff. And so he said, hey, I would appreciate it if you pulled my performance as the villain from Hercules or whatever one it is. Because, you see, the thing is many years ago, I said lots of offensive things as a comedian.
You set Jay Leno's couch on fire.
Yeah, I think it would be hypocritical for you guys to retain, have me. And so he had a really good point, and he had a really good, eloquent way of saying it.
I like that.
And then there's other things out there that show, like Song of the South and all these other, racially driven things that Disney's produced, 50 years ago. And so it's a little bit hypocritical in some respects. Because there's a lot of people on the payroll that
and times
are
change,
questionable.
Cultural outlooks change. But I mean, back to this kind of Twitter conversation. Whatever happened to keeping a diary or a journal?
Yeah, I don't. Nobody does that.
I mean, let's get back to that. I mean, all this stuff these people are thinking, we don't really need to hear all of it. And
Yeah,
I think Twitter kind of replaces that filter that a lot of people should be having. And whereas they can just spout off a bunch of nonsense, and then the next day it's like, oh, I was on Ambien. Oh, I was 10 years younger. Oh, this, oh, that. Um, I mean, a lot of these things don't need to be said. They should be kept inside your brain, regardless of what the conditions were.
sure,
Right?
sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, the part that gets like becomes a slippery slope is that yes, they're expressing things that are offensive. Maybe during a time when they weren't as offensive. People use language 10, 15 years ago that would be offensive today, but it was common. And if you're one of those people that use that, how long does the statute of limitations last to where you're held accountable for that a decade later? And that's where it gets a little bit strange for me. I mean, Patton Oswalt, for example, did the voice of Ratatouille.
Yeah.
And I mean, he said some, politically incorrect things as part of his comic act, but that's under the banner of that's what kind of comedians do.
Bob Saget.
Yeah, Bob Saget is another one.
Look at that.
But I mean, what's his connection? I don't know his connection to Disney.
Wow.
But my point is that there's lots of people that have connections to Disney. David Spade is another one. He did the voice of the prince in the Prince of Egypt or whatever that show was. He did, there's people that have had drug problems. I mean, Leia, for example, in the Star Wars area, come on.
Yeah.
She's been super offended. It's just strange to me that.
And it's the founder of Disney himself was no angel.
No, not at all. So
yeah,
I just don't know where that statute lies. I think that this is not a good martyr for the cause. I think that they should have addressed it. They should have given him the opportunity to address it rather than just firing somebody. There could be more to it that I know. Maybe you could reprimand him. You could, I don't know, like you'd handle it in a normal company.
Yeah.
Just a little strange.
Sensitivity training.
Yeah, there you go.
I think everybody needs some of that.
Yeah. So moving on, I got
it's too bad.
Two last things I didn't pull up here, but they're my favorite ones. So let's get into the video game territory a little bit.
Okay.
So Nathan Fillion did like an Uncharted fan film. So if you don't know about Uncharted, they're really cool PlayStation exclusive games. It's basically like a combo between Indiana Jones and Tomb Raider. And the lead character looks a lot like Nathan Fillion. Same kind of humor, same type of mannerisms, size, everything. It's very, very similar. So
we would know Nathan Fillion from Firefly, is it?
Yeah, Firefly. He did Castle. He's kind of a big nerd favorite, but he's a little bit older now and not as in shape. So they kind of missed the window. But there was a fan film made that they did on Uncharted. It's like 15 minutes. It's pretty good. It doesn't show all the themes of, Uncharted, like climbing up and down buildings and stuff, but it captures the humor and the characters and the outfits. It's pretty solid for what it is. Kind of cool just to finally see him act the role of Nathan Drake in these Uncharted games, although that's not really going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg was connected to be the lead in an Uncharted movies that didn't quite take off. I mean, 5 or 6 years ago. But again, it was just interesting how it came to be and what they did. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out on YouTube, especially if you're a fan of the games. It's pretty good for a fan film, I have to say.
Or we could post it on the Facebook.
Yeah, we'll do that. How's that? We'll make it easy for you guys. So if you're listening to this, it's probably up there. If not, then
One less click.
Slack. One less click. And my last story came from Vice, which isn't necessarily the website that you go to for movie news, but I just read the headline and thought it was hilarious. So Jean-Claude Van Damme did a Street Fighter movie. It was a 90s flick, and it is a super bag of shit. But I'm a huge Street Fighter fan. Yeah. And I remember as a kid seeing like, they're making a Street Fighter movie, So the title on Vice was, I'm just going to read it line for line. It says, Jean-Claude Van Damme was coked out of his mind during Street Fighter. So
sounds about right.
Yeah. The movie is really bad, and there's an interview with the Guardian director where the director Stephen De Souza was telling that the Guardian, that making the movie was super chaotic. And a lot of it was because Jean-Claude was just coked out of his mind the whole time. So I guess at the time he was struggling with a pretty serious cocaine addiction, and he was snorting an estimated $10,000 worth of coke a week.
Whoa.
So yeah, which I didn't, as a kid, you don't know that. This dude's just,
coked out of his mind.
He went on to say, quote, "I couldn't talk about it at the time, but I can now. Jean-Claude was coked out of his mind. The studio had hired a wrangler to take care of him, but unfortunately the wrangler himself was a bad influence. Jean-Claude was calling in sick so much I had to keep looking through the script to find something else to film. I couldn't just sit around for hours waiting for him. On 2 occasions, the producers allowed him to go to Hong Kong, and both occasions he came back late. And on Mondays, he just wasn't there at all."
Yeah, because he was sleeping off a wonderful weekend.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was.
So, does he still have a little coke problem, or
who knows? Who knows? But I thought it was just kind of interesting. So I want to go back and watch it again as he plays Guile in just a really, really bad movie. Just to see this dude running on 120 miles an hour.
Well, now that we have since then we've had HD and 4K. We kind of look for the nostril area and see if there's any telltale signs of cocaine abuse.
Yeah, that's just not a character tick. Why he keeps wiping his nose and doing that little tension thing with his neck.
Yeah, like grinding his teeth. Yeah. Now it makes sense.
All right.
Jean-Claude, that's interesting.
So before we get on to what movies we've been watching, there's a couple new trailers out this week, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So which one did you see?
So the one I got one, and I think you have one. I saw one for Glass because I know we've been talking about that quite a bit, and I am very excited for this film, Sean. The preview, the preview's done in a way that I don't really like previews to be done. It pretty much shows a lot, but it looks pretty exciting. I don't know. I could post it up on the Facebook page. I think we already put that up there, right?
Yeah, that one we just put up a couple days ago.
Yeah, so check that one out. But I don't know, what did you think of it, Sean? Because
well,
I know you brought this up originally.
I think Unbreakable's probably Shyamalan's best all-around film because it still has a couple elements of his gimmicks, but he relies more on character development and writing and telling a story rather than just having something lead up to a big gotcha moment.
Yeah.
It still has those elements. And then I think that with Split, it's a very raw, low budget movie, but I think it's him at his best because you have to rely on the characters and the storytelling. And there isn't that huge gotcha type of moment either.
But he does it.
Yeah, and he did a good job with those ones. So he's a director who's had so much potential, but I think his success was a little unearned. It was a little too quick. So he didn't really earn his stripes, as you see the career of some directors go through. Maybe too big of a budget too quick, so you end up going, well, I have a fear of straying from what worked. I got to stay in this pocket. So I think he kind of got pigeonholed into that because he was a little too successful too quick, turned into a little bit of a one-hit wonder. But Unbreakable is that one film that kind of stands out where you kind of feel like that was his passion project, like that's what he wanted to do. But he was probably expected to do something else. And you see that with musicians all the time. I mean, you have your whole entire life to make your first album and then 1 year to make your sophomore album. And it usually falls flat because they didn't get enough time to do what they needed to. And I think that might have been the case with some of his films where they were rushed, or that the only way he was going to get the deal is if it had the Sixth Sense formula to it. So Unbreakable is that exception. And so it's nice to see that he's kind of kept going back to this with Split and now with Glass.
And I mean, it looks like it's the preview takes place in a mental institution, but there's also stuff going on outside of it. So it's got, like, of course, the tension with the confined space, and then you have probably building up to the climax of the film, stuff going on outside. Yeah,
what we get from the trailer is, I mean, I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
It shows you.
It doesn't tell you everything.
It shows you sequences and scenarios, but you don't know how they came to be. I thought Samuel Jackson looked incredible in it.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis looked really good, and obviously James McAvoy, he did great in Split.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious to see how they're going to work those three together. Yeah, it's got a lot of potential. So I'm haven't been this excited about a movie in a while.
Uh-huh.
And this is definitely one that I saw the trailer just gave me enough, but I would have preferred, like you mentioned, to keep it a little bit more obscure, less visuals, more on suspense.
Yeah. And that's pretty much, we know what he's best at, so we can rest assured that it's going to go just fine.
Yeah, I've liked about half his films.
Yeah.
I think that Lady in the Water is when it kind of went, what direction are we going? And then he had that film where like the wind was the enemy with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
And then he did like Last Airbender. He did that terrible Will Smith movie, After Earth. I mean, he just had lots of duds. So I it's nice to see him kind of get back with Split, and hopefully this is just another one that gets him moving in the right direction.
And we also have a good cast besides the three. We have Sarah Paulson, who
she's great.
Yeah, Marcia Clark from the OJ show.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited.
So I also did you see the Aquaman trailer?
I just watched that before we started shooting.
Okay.
Here,
so first impressions, what'd you think?
It's funny because it's like DC and Marvel will always be compared. So what grabbed me right away was like the humor.
Yeah.
A lot of humor in there that that's just kind of what it is. I never thought Aquaman to be like a very funny man, cracking a lot of jokes, but apparently he does. So
this could be like the Ant-Man for DC.
Totally. Yeah. Which I never really thought that would be. But, looks okay. I mean,
it looks, come on, it looks terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it on I'm trying to be civil here, Sean.
Yeah.
It doesn't look that great, I guess.
No, I mean, I was expecting
the flu has made me delirious, you see, and so things like this might look nice for a minute.
Talking?
Yeah, this is the through a haze of yes.
Yeah.
Sickness and exhaustion.
Yeah.
Looking at this, and it's not looking too spectacular now. I'm going to have to watch it again on a bigger screen.
Yeah, I think it's, for me, I think that he showed up well in Justice League. There wasn't a whole lot there, but I liked there's a lot of mystique with him, how they handled his character in Justice League.
Yeah.
And now you kind of see him. He's got his yellow shirt, which is a little bit iconic for him. I mean, he's got a dragon. He doesn't get around on the seahorse. And then there's a lot of this underwater, which could be very interesting because there's not a lot of movies that spend a lot of time underwater.
Yeah.
But they seem to even rush in a little bit of his origin into the trailers, which I didn't think was necessary.
No.
But there's a lot of visuals which looks really over the top on CG. So my concern is
the shark.
Yeah, my concern is just going to look cheesy. So it could have good writing and funny acting and funny moments, but if it looks like elements of Justice League, it's going to bomb. It's I don't know. I mean, DC needs to turn things around. No, I think they're just rushing stuff, and they don't have the same. They don't have the same infrastructure operations that like Marvel and Disney has. So Aquaman could potentially be a lot of fun. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, but
the shit, man.
Trailer has me concerned.
Yeah,
but again, it's probably not one I'll go see on week one.
No.
May not even go see it in the theater, depending on what I hear about it. But I want it to be successful. I want to enjoy it.
See, that's the thing. I'm trying to be optimistic.
Yeah, I know.
You shot that down, Sean.
Yeah, that's my spiritual gift.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, but you really can't argue with when you're presented with something that doesn't look too great. It's just not a good sign for DC.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we will.
All right. So, what have you watched this week? I know it's been a busy, week and a half since we had Jaws come out. What is it you've been watching?
Well, I watched a couple things here. One thing I took as a recommendation from you before I left on my trip. I watched Isle of Dogs.
Oh, you did? Good. What'd you think?
I loved it. It was so good. I'm gonna have to watch it again because I mean, there's definitely things you can miss watching any Wes Anderson film. This was cool just because it brings together a lot of the familiar people that work with them. A lot of his kind of trademark style, chiefly being like the art direction and the way things look, and a little quirky, kind of like labeling things and the little quick like montages that are.
So it's like watching a live scrapbook.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not like you have to be a fan of his to just to pick up this movie and watch it for the first time, but it definitely helps. I really enjoyed it. I'm not really a big guy for like the stop motion or the animation, unless it's South Park or something like that. But this one, is definitely my collection, and I'd love to watch it again soon. Very, very well done film.
Sweet.
Yeah, and I'm like a big fan of Kurosawa, Japanese director, and I know there's a lot of like kind of nods to his work in this film too. So that really stood out to me as well.
Right on.
Yeah.
Glad you liked it.
Yeah, very enjoyable.
This conversation would be a lot different if you hated it.
No, did not hate it. Yeah. Been watching a show on Netflix called it's a Netflix original called Dark Tourist.
Yeah, I just saw the ad for that earlier today.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's this guy David something. He's a New Zealand journalist, and I guess dark tourism is this thing where people go to places that you don't really want to go to. So just really for the experience and just to kind of check out another culture. So
give me an example of like what qualifies as dark tourism.
He goes to like Colombia and he does like a live action tour of like Pablo Escobar with one of Pablo's former hitmen. He goes to Japan and he checks out like the sites of the radiation, meltdowns and things like that. And it's kind of crazy. I mean, there's that one specifically, like they're reading their Geiger counters for the radiation, and it's like alarmingly high. But there's like a busload full of tourists, going to this thing. So he goes to West Africa, does some voodoo. He goes to Turkmenistan, which I knew nothing about, prior to watching this, and checks out that place. So very like fascinating. I'm really into like travel shows. I like certain food shows. Chiefly Anthony Bourdain, rest in peace. Like his shows are great because if you've never been to that place, or if you're planning to go, or it's just something to pique your curiosity, it's just fascinating to watch that through someone else's eyes. The host of this show he's a good host. He's a little, kind of quirky, makes, funny comments, but he pretty much delivers things straight up to how they are. So very refreshing. Good show. I think it's a 8-episode run.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll need to watch it. Looks interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, kind of learn a lot about things you ordinarily wouldn't know about. So, I started watching Castle Rock.
Oh, let's talk about it.
Yeah, I like it, man. It's really good.
It's rad, huh?
It is. It's kind of like Fargo for Stephen King.
It feels like Stephen King wrote it.
Yeah, totally.
But he didn't. A lot of people did.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of hands in there. You can't, unlike a lot of other things where you have a lot of people writing on it, you can't really tell that.
Sure. So let's set it up a little bit. So for those who don't know, it's on Hulu, right?
Yes.
And how many episodes they release?
3 so far.
So what's your take on the premise so far? How would you describe it?
So the premise is it focuses on modern day. One of the big settings is Shawshank Prison. So, without giving too much away, Shawshank Prison has had some kind of creepy thing going on, and someone else has been summoned to the town who used to live there, and then that's where stuff just starts getting kind of weird. We get a lot of like kind of references to other Stephen King works, some characters popping up, but I don't want to give too much away. I think it's definitely something you should check out, whether you're a Stephen King fan or not. But I mean, I noticed like great acting all around. Really like very interesting, like high rewatchability. It's like after I watched the 3, I was like, well, like I might want to go back and check those out again, just because there might be little subtle things you might miss. Andre Holland is great. Bill Skarsgård, who played It, he's like really good.
He played Pennywise, right?
Yeah, like he's just super creepy in this show.
Yeah, that dude's got huge eyes, and he's just an odd looking man.
Yeah, but he's very well suited for the role he plays. I think her name's Melanie Litsky. She's I don't know where she's from, but she's really good in this show. It's like a lot of weird, creepy things, and I've said Fargo just because not so much like it's going to be like the series, but it just kind of borrows a lot from an author's sources and incorporates them into the show as a whole.
Sure.
Which I think it's cool to do that. I think it pays homage not only to that writer, but it creates something completely new at the same time.
So Castle Rock, it's a town in Maine, right? A fictional. Where did that show up with Stephen King? Where's that connection?
So like a lot of his works have it, like just offhand. I know Stand By Me had it. I know Cujo had it. I believe Carrie. He destroyed the city in a book called Needful Things in the 90s. So it's interesting to me how he brought this back.
Yeah.
It's not the setting for like all of his works. I mean, even like It is set in Derry, which I don't know if that's a real town or not, but it is referenced quite a bit. So as an author, he just kind of created this pastiche kind of town of, what he's familiar with living in Maine. And then now it's just populated with kind of all the weirdness that comes along with Stephen King. Yeah,
it's also got Scott Glenn.
Yeah.
I liked him in Leftovers.
Yeah.
That he plays a good character.
Terry
O'Quinn, also known as John Locke from Lost.
And the stepdad from Stepdad.
Yeah. J.J. Abrams, I think, is a producer on it. So how many Easter eggs did you catch?
I wasn't really looking for that, to be honest. That's why I wanted to go back and see it again. It was more just the Shawshank stuff. There was some music that was being played at one point. That was the opera music that Andy Dufresne played.
Yep.
When he got the record collection in Shawshank.
And there's also the scene where like Andy's loading his gun in the car.
Right.
That was a similar scene that maybe you could read too much into it, but it was. Isn't the mom of the main character Henry Deaver? That's the woman who played Carrie, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Sissy Spacek, who's she's done a lot of stuff. She was good on Bloodline.
Yes, that's right. That's where I recognize her from.
One other one I caught was there's a new warden coming to the prison, and they reference an old warden shooting himself in the head, and there's a bullet hole in the wall still.
Yeah, that was clever.
Which happened in Shawshank Redemption.
It was weird seeing Shawshank like in modern, how they portrayed it. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, really cool. It just kind of looks weird. I mean, the whole show, it's like shot really kind of dark, but not like intrusively so. I really like it. I'm a huge, like I said, you could read my story that we put up recently. I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I haven't read like every single thing he's written, but I'm getting there,
Yeah.
A lot of his stuff I've read again, and his stuff really holds up better to the written word, honestly, than it does to film. The stuff of his that has been put to film is actually the things that aren't as scary. So Shawshank, Green Mile, Stand By Me I think are probably the strongest of the three of his works that have translated well to another medium. But this show looks really promising in terms of just grabbing bits of stuff from his whole assortment of works and putting them into one show. As long as the writing holds up, which I'm sure it will, it'll be great.
No, I agree. I think it's a perfect way to capture somebody's point of view, his career, and kind of have it be like a tribute to that, telling a unique story in that world. It's very clever, very clever.
Yeah. And it's cool how Hulu, I don't think Netflix does this, where Hulu's do kind of old school, where it's like you have to wait a bit to see the next episode.
Yeah, Netflix, they've only done it a few times, but most of the time they'll give you the whole thing right away.
Yeah.
Not Hulu. And I bet you it's because of working capital and that Netflix can afford to just do that. They kind of pride themselves on the binge aspect of shows. Where a lot of the original stuff that's been on Hulu, they release 3, get you hooked, and then you got to come back every week.
Yeah.
I think that is also a business decision to avoid people that sign up, watch something, burn through their catalog, and then cancel it after a month. It allows people to, you're going to have at least a 3-month subscription to watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty clever.
Yeah, I really dig it though. So I was like, I think I heard about this thing like 6 months ago or something. I'm like, oh, that's interesting, and then here it is. So
yeah, I actually kind of prefer this business model because I'll lack self-discipline to not watch everything over a weekend.
yeah,
and so it's kind of nice having that serial aspect. I think the last time I was really, Lost and Breaking Bad are the last 2 shows to where it was part of your weekly routine.
yeah, and for a lot of people, it was Sopranos too.
Yeah, I miss that. I really miss that aspect of TV now.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that. Even though I want to see it, like I also have something to look forward to next week.
Right.
So if you guys haven't seen it yet, or you don't have Hulu, and you like any Stephen King story fan of his books or anything, strongly recommend it. They came out really strong with their first three episodes. Definitely check it out.
Yeah, like I said, I'll probably be watching those 3 again before the next one comes out. So
yeah, absolutely.
Looking forward to it.
Good poll.
Yeah. One more I'll give you, and this was a weird one. I was actually gonna make you watch this for our viewing challenge, which will be coming back. But I'm not a very mean person, I don't think, at heart.
Yeah, you have your moments.
Yeah, I do. But this one was a really weird movie. It's more of an experience than a film, and I'm not trying to compare it to like 2001. It's definitely challenging. You just have to just kind of sit there and absorb it and watch it for however long it takes, because it is not like a traditional film. It's called Under the Skin. It's on Netflix now, and so that came up, and I had heard about it, and I said, "Oh, I'll check this out." And it is a very bizarre film. It's very different. I'm not like recommending it. I'm not saying it's for everybody. I don't know if you've heard about this, Sean.
I have. It's with Scarlett, right?
Yeah. It's an interesting role for her to take, because a lot of the movies is kind of mundane. Basically, the premise is like she's an alien, and she's been sent to Earth in like human form, and she's more or less like hunting people for, feeding the master alien race or whatever. But it's not just about all that. So, very odd film.
It was mentioned when we did our sci-fi episode. A couple of people referenced it as one of the top 10 sci-fi films of all time.
Yeah, I mean it's good. I mean it's just like I wouldn't really foist this on anybody to watch without them kind of knowing that it's going to be it's interesting. I mean, that's all I could. I'm still kind of speechless about the film. It really kind of gets you into this like hypnotic lull as you watch it, because there's a lot of stuff that kind of repeats itself, and then there's little breaks, and then so it is kind of like Kubrick in that respect.
Sure.
Where it does that. But again, it is challenging. I mean, there's things they're shooting that are just like they take forever to get, even the little tiniest intricate detail across. So I think it's definitely very well made. Definitely kind of up there with science fiction films. But again, it is very different. Yeah. So, I mean, check it out if you want. Stick with it, because you have to be very patient with it.
All right. I'll check it out.
It's not for everybody. So, but I did enjoy it. It's just, as a film fan, I thought it was great. But, and yeah, I think I kind of subconsciously saw that on our list too. And I was just like, I'll check this out. So, yeah, look into it.
So for me, I watched one movie this week. It's a new one on Netflix. My buddy John said, "Hey, have you seen this movie called Extinction on Netflix? You know anything about it?" And I didn't, so I took it upon myself to watch it. It's a new movie that they released. It's a pretty quick sci-fi thriller. The synopsis on IMDb is: a father has a reoccurring dream of losing his family. His nightmare turns into reality when the planet is invaded by a force bent on destruction. Fighting for their lives, he comes to realize an unknown strength to keep them safe from harm. It stars Lizzie Kaplan. She's like from, you might remember her. What did she do? She did that movie with Franco and Rogan, and they went to North Korea.
Okay.
And Michael Pena from like Ant-Man and the Wasp. And he plays like a serious dramatic role here, so it's kind of weird not seeing him be cute and funny.
Yeah.
It's pretty. I mean, I don't necessarily want to say it's good. It's not bad. It was entertaining. It's well made for what it is. It kind of has like that Netflix CGI where it's like 85% of the way it gets it, but at times you can kind of see like, okay, I mean, it still works, but it's not 100% polished, but it's still pretty decent. But it's got some unique things, original ways of telling its story. So if you're a big fan of sci-fi, I would definitely recommend it for that. Captures a lot of a Cloverfield / War of the Worlds type of vibe. It's got several different little hooks throughout the way, but the movie doesn't really lean on those as much. So didn't really know what to expect at all, and it's definitely confusing at times.
Yeah,
as it's intended to be, but it resolves it. It's very clean and tidy. It's not too heady of a sci-fi film. It's very simple. Takes place in a very singular location. You could tell it's not a huge budget because it doesn't reach too much. Most of it takes place all in one building or one location. But it's definitely worth checking out. It's nice to see original sci-fi movies like this continue to kind of show up on Netflix. I mean, the last one I saw was the Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah,
it's like
about that.
Same quality as that, just a better story. I thought that movie was a lot worse than this. This one's got a little bit better acting, a little more original, keeps you interested a little bit more. But it's Extinction on Netflix. I think it just came out like 2 days ago, 3 or 4 days ago, last week.
I see Luke Cage is also in it.
Yes, Luke Cage.
Yeah,
Represent.
Michael Coulter.
Yeah, Michael Coulter.
Nice.
Yeah, so if you're looking for something new and you have Netflix, check it out. And thanks for my friend John for the heads up, although he probably won't hear this until 2023 because he's busy.
Oh, in quote marks.
Yeah.
Anyone who's too busy to listen to the Harsch review, well, come talk to me after the show.
Yeah, it's Harsch. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So that's all we got for this week. Let's close it out with your mission, should you choose to accept it.
Yeah.
So for those that are new, Ryan and I started this bit. We've done it a couple times to where we pick a movie that the other person most likely hasn't seen, and it's their job to watch it and review it on the Harsch Review Film and TV podcast. So last time we did it was, I think, episode 32. And where we resolved some of those ones, and we took a couple weeks off. So now we are back, and I am going to pass the baton to you, Ryan. What do I have to watch?
Well, I'm hoping you haven't seen this one, but it is something I watched that I've been meaning to watch for a while, and I just recently saw it on Netflix. It is by one of my favorite new directors, Denis Villeneuve, who's done Blade Runner, Arrival, Sicario, and one of my absolute favorite movies, Prisoners. And this movie is called Enemy. Have you seen it?
I don't
Gyllenhaal.
think. I might have. Let me look.
Jake Gyllenhaal as himself twice.
No, I know what you're talking about. It's the one where, I know of the movie. I wanted to watch it, but I never actually did.
Well, you're watching it.
All right.
and you're going to watch it because
decided.
We're going to have a really good discussion about it because it's
all right. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So you're watching Enemy, Sean.
All right. I'm watching Enemy.
All right.
Okay. So you're going to be heading over to Amazon Prime and you're going to be watching an exclusive of theirs. Hopefully you haven't seen this. It's called Rememory.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I was really hoping you were not going to. This is with what's his name?
Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
So it's a leading role for him. He plays Tyrion Lannister, the famous imp of Winterfell. And basically the synopsis is when an inventor turns up dead, a mysterious man steals his latest invention, a device able to extract, record, and play a person's memories. So I actually want to see this because it looks interesting. But I haven't gotten to it yet. It's on my list of movies I want to watch. So I figured, yeah, let's have Ryan screen it first.
On the litmus test for the films you're not sure about.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's either going to be really good or totally bad. But I mean, you got 4 out of 5 stars on their,
Yeah.
So who knows?
Okay.
Rememory.
Yeah, I'm on it.
All right, that's yours.
I'll get to it this week.
Okay. Well,
cool.
We got Rememory Enemy.
Yes.
If you guys seen these movies, definitely looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say about it in our Facebook group chat. We're going to put a thing on there about this later this week after I've had time to watch Enemy, which I assume is going to be a story of Ryan and my childhood.
Yes.
But if you're new to
Rememory will be me reliving that childhood.
Yes. But if you've been listening to us for a while, just want to say thanks again for stopping by and listening to us. And if you're new to the show, welcome. Glad to have you here. Stay engaged with us by searching at The Harsch Review, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And if you want to support us, you can go over to patreon.com/The Harsch Review. We'll be back next week with a lot more film, TV news, talking about what we've been watching and a whole lot more. That's going to do it for us this week. My name is Sean.
I'm Ryan.
And you guys have a good one.
Bye.